How do you design your life around your values?
Broadcasting from the Subaru of Gwinnett Studio at the Gas South Convention Center in Duluth, Georgia, it's time to design your life on Status Life with Leta. Status Life with Leta is presented by Derrick Hayes Law at 404-777-HURT and by 5 Strands Affordable Testing. Invest in your health at 5strands.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Status Life with Leta on Business RadioX. I'm the host of the show, Derrick Hayes, and I'm here to introduce the star of our show, Mrs. Leta Brooks Hayes. Mrs. Leta Brooks Hayes.
Hello.
Right. I got to say it as often as I can. Leta has been working as an interior designer for over 20 years. She's incredibly talented and is now designing, blogging, and podcasting full time. If that wasn't enough, Leta is a mother of 2 and now 2 more and devotes her time to teaching others how to achieve their goals and live life to the fullest. She sums it up best in her branded hashtag, Design Your Life. You ready to start?
I'm ready.
We got a lot to talk about today. Well, before we do, let's kind of go back over a couple of things, and I want to start with the KDA because that's coming up soon.
Yes, this is very, very important. KDA stands for Kidney Donor Athletes, and if you go back, I think it was 3 shows ago, I podcasted with Natalie Noose, and she is on the board of directors for KDA. We talked about our kidney transplant stories and what KDA is and the mission behind it. You know, athletes make the best donors. And when I say athletes, some people look at me and I'll say, but it's really anyone that lives a healthy lifestyle. And if you don't have someone directly in need of a kidney, donating a kidney is probably nowhere at all on your radar or anything that you want to do.
And I didn't really pay much attention to it until you and I started dating and I found out you were a kidney donor, and now I'm all in. I get it.
Sure. And we find other stories and we connect with people, which is how I found out about KDA. I had run a 25K after my transplant and posted some hashtags about it, you know, kidney transplant, kidney donor, and they asked me to write a story about the 25K. Well, that connected us on social media, and I saw that they are doing something called a 1 kidney climb. Now, last year they did 1 kidney climb, summited Kilimanjaro on World Kidney Day. This year, the kidney donors and
you.
I'll go all the way, right. I was going to say, you just stole my thunder. Thank you. I'm going all the way to the end to say I submitted an application and got chosen. So I am one of, there's 20 of us going, and we're leaving on December 2nd to go to Guatemala to summit 3 volcanoes to show everyone, healthy living and athletes, look at what we can do on 1 kidney. Over 100,000 people right now are waiting on kidneys. Everybody else, except for me, has 2. And you only need 1 to live, to thrive, to be healthy, to live the active lifestyle that you want.
And you know that it's a serious climb when you have Sherpas going.
You keep saying
well,
that. We have
cool.
guides. Yes.
Yeah, just call them Sherpas. It sounds
we have
terrific.
Guides. And of course they have to go with us.
You don't go to Stone Mountain and climb Stone Mountain and have Sherpas.
No,
you're doing some serious
you do
climbing.
Everest
when you got
and
those
Kilimanjaro, but no, we have guides. But they're native to Guatemala, and yes, they help. They pack gear. I mean, this is going to be a real adventure. This is a fundraising mission. If you're interested in supporting, even if you're listening to this podcast and I've done the climb, fundraising for KDA never stops, right? This is a mission. This is an awareness mission that we are trying to bring. You can always go to Status Life with Leta, the website, any of my social media, all the links are there. And I would say definitely follow. This is where I'm going to be sharing the mission and doing everything live on Instagram stories, which translate to Facebook stories.
Sure, and podcasts last forever. And so with that being said, we're in October of 2023.
Right.
The climb's coming up December of 2023. But you also, too, recently did a fashion show to raise funds for KDA and your climb specifically.
Sure. It was a charity fashion show, and you got to pick the charity that you wanted to support. And I picked KDA, of course, which was a wonderful night. That just happened in Atlanta.
And you look terrific.
Thank you.
You did great.
Of course you think so.
All right. So we also have the basement. We have kids. There's tons of things going on in our life we could talk about.
Too much.
But we also have a show to do. So I want to go ahead and move on to that. And you are one busy lady. So let's talk about what the topic is today.
Well, that's really the lead in to today's show, because you just said that. I'm one busy lady, but I really don't want to be. You know, we've been doing a deep dive into a lot of self-help, and I love that. I've had 2 life coaches on the show back to back. I encourage you to go listen to both of those shows. Their tools, guidance, and their advice is extremely helpful. So my passion is helping people live their best lives. In order to help people, I have to be the guinea pig and do the work. I have to get vulnerable and put it all out there, which is what this podcast is for, right?
Exactly.
So the crazy part is everyone can relate, whether it's you personally, your spouse, parent, child, friend. If you just want to better yourself, self-help, advice, teaching, all of it, everyone can soak in and relate to.
Now, with all that in mind, how do you tie that to today's topic? Exactly how are we tying this neat little bow around it?
Well, I want to talk about something specific that's very important to me. I want to talk about our values and the role that they play in our lives.
All right. Well, if you're going to talk about values, I know how you are. Give us the definition of values. Explain exactly what you mean.
Okay. So your values are the things that you believe are important in the way you live and work. They should determine your priorities, and deep down, they're probably the measures you use to tell if your life is turning out the way you want it to. Now, that's Google. I didn't write that, okay? If you Google your values, that's what you're going to find. But that's the definition. And I think that's really important. The measures you use to tell if your life is turning out the way you want it to, which is why I said, when you made the comment, you're one busy lady, and I said, but I don't want to be. And that's the tie-in.
I get that.
I don't want to be. And we're going to do a deeper dive into that.
Well, I know you better than anybody else, and I also know that your values do drive everything you do. So why did you decide to tackle that topic, values specifically, today?
You know, having two life coaches on here, I find that the best podcasts that I do relate to exactly what I'm going through in the moment. And right now, I'm struggling with the balance of my career and work life with my home life, or my role as a wife, my role as a mother. You know, we've talked about the word balance and how unachievable that can be. You know, you can have one day, maybe it's that Monday that you hit every marker and you get every single thing done, but then Tuesday,
it feels like it falls apart.
Chaotic, and then by Friday you just TGIF, and so it's one of those things where you're striving for it and you can get thrown off so fast. So with my values, you know, I have really realized that my kids, my husband, they are the number one priority. That is my family value, and right now that is a lot. Our home, that is a huge value for me, the way our home feels, the way it looks. And I don't mean as a designer that my home has to look a certain way. I mean the charm it has, the coziness it has, the comfort it has, even the food. So that's a whole nother element that I've really placed a lot of value in. I realized that I wasn't cooking very often. It was heating up things, and just everybody was getting fed, but there wasn't a lot of nutrition. It was just throwing frozen pizzas or grabbing this and grabbing that.
But that also has to come with being busy. I mean, there are times
there you go. You just use that word
it's
again.
Almost 9 o'clock at night, and we're looking at each other going,
100%.
We haven't even had dinner yet.
And I changed my value because I was busy. I was so busy running those retail stores, doing all these interior design projects. I did that huge
kids
country club.
Kids
sports,
everything.
All the things, right? And so it was crazy. You don't have time to go to the grocery store. You don't have time to make a menu. It's as fast as you can feed everyone. But I changed all of that when a lot of my career was stripped away, and a lot of that was by choice. I really, really dug deep and changed a lot of my values. A tradition, which is turned into a value, is our Sunday dinner.
Yes.
And Sunday at 7, no matter who's around, they come to the dinner table. I cook a huge meal from scratch. I make a dessert from scratch. And we eat the leftovers all week. I mean, it's just a big moment that we don't plan anything for Sunday evenings.
We actually sit at the table
We
together.
all sit at the table. Again, anybody that's around gets to come. We've had neighbors, we've had friends, we've had family. Even my ex-husband joins us for Sunday dinner, probably just because he needs me to cook. But, you know, whatever it is. But anyway, that's the beauty of it. Sunday at 7, show up at our house and have a wonderful meal. But I want my kids to remember that. I want this, it sounds like a tradition, but this is a value that I'm placing on that night and on all of us being together. And so, you know, there's a lot of things. value in promoting you. I work at the law firm for a few days, and I think that's really important. It's a way that I support you. It's a way that I support the firm. I support our community. We're really jumping 2 feet into nonprofit work, and I place a lot of value on that. I get so much enjoyment out of that. That's the helping people, and that it feels really real to me.
And selfishly, I enjoy when you're there.
You enjoy when I'm there at the office, but they say on social media, the powers that be, if you're going to post on social media, don't post if it doesn't create value. And I go into every single thing that I post, whether it's for the law firm or whether it's for Status Life with Leta. If it doesn't create value, what's the point?
Sure.
Today's Halloween and I have all of these great pictures of my kids and stuff. And that means something to me, but to the world, is there value in that? Or is that just me personally? Right? Does that make sense?
I get
Do you see
it.
how
I get it.
I kind of skew the way that I'm thinking about
Sure.
this? But if we go and we support KDA, or we're supporting one of the food banks, or we have all these nonprofits, I have them lined up month by month, and that's value. I mean, that's us like digging in with our teeth
Connecting.
and really supporting, and I love that. So it's just me taking a really hard look at where I'm spending my time and where I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different. My life looks a lot different than it used to.
Yeah,
a lot
I agree.
different because I'm leading 100% with my values.
Sure, I agree. So aside from those, are there any other ones that we stress currently? Like going to church, I'll throw that in there because we do value going to church every Sunday.
I love it. Yeah. It fills my cup. I enjoy that. I always have. And I think it's really important for my children. They have what they're learning at church and what they're learning and being in a youth group and friends and the memories. It's just something that I place a lot of value on. So we spend our time there.
And
on
I also
Sundays.
see you putting a lot of energy in all of that now, as opposed to other things in the past that were taking up that time and keeping you from being able to put all that time and effort in those things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say, personally, and I think this is where I led with, I'm struggling with this. I have this deep fear of going back into burnout. You open the show by saying you're one busy lady. And I mean, my eyes get big because I used to say that. If you asked me when my retail store was open and then we had the smaller store and we had the fire and then we were planning the wedding. I mean, when you used to read my bio, it was 2 paragraphs long, but that only equals to busy. And if you came to me and said, how are you? I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Go listen to some of the shows in season 1, 2, how are you? I'm so busy. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. I'm so busy, but yet I went into burnout. I didn't even know that I was in burnout until I started coming out of it.
Sure.
And then I started realizing the amount of stress that I was carrying. And I thought that I loved it. I thought I just thrive on stress. Throw it at me. And I
Yes.
know a lot of people like this. And I kind of look at them now with the side eye, like, it's coming. It's coming. You think you love this, but it is not.
There's a breaking point
There
for
is a
everyone.
breaking point. This is not sustainable. And I realize that. But I get a little anxious about it. We did a whole series on business burnout. Again, what I'm going through make the best shows. So while I was going through it, I put it all out there. And now I'm on the other side of it saying, I'm scared. I'm scared that I've got so much on my plate because all I want to do is support the law firm. I want to write and I want to blog. And I think that I've been given the voice and the vulnerability and the fact that I'm not afraid to share all this as a resource and put myself out there for all to hear and to use me as an example of what to do and what not to do. But my values they're overriding everything for all the ones that we just talked about.
And you're very committed in everything you do. And I'll say that repeatedly about any aspect of your life, from the kids to me, to the firm, to your store, the blog, all that. You're very committed to not only doing it, but doing it right. Not just for the sake of going through it, but putting out good content and being the best you can be, which also, too, kind of goes right back to the value issue.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, there's plenty more. We talked about the home, the law firm, raising, the kids and us going to church. I mean, these are all things that are important. My friends, I mean, the value I place on my friendships, I pour myself into them. I always want to know what's going on. I try to be anyway. Maybe they would say different. I don't think so, but I think I'm a very present friend.
And I, of course, admire your values like I do everything else about you.
Thank
You are my
you.
person. I know your friends and others, the community, that things that you do. You went to talk one night on that, and you had no idea that somebody was going to use you as
That's right.
as an example.
Yep.
It was a ladies' conference, I guess, was it? Something like that?
It was in the county that I live in, I want to say networking. It's a women's group. So it was 4 ladies that had moved to our county, didn't know anyone, just a way to really meet people. And it has grown into, you want to call it a club? I don't know. But they do once a month. They have an event. They have speakers. They do lots of different things. And one night, it was right around the time of the wedding, and I went. Now, April Worley, she was on the podcast.
She's been on the show, yes.
April Farlow. We know her as April Worley
Yes.
because we're very close with her brother, Richard Worley, but her name is April Farlow.
Correct.
She is married to Kip Farlow, and she was the speaker. Now, April is a Carnegie Mellon gifted speaker. This is what she does for her profession. And when April speaks, people show up.
Correct.
She's phenomenal.
And they listen
And
intently.
I knew April was speaking this night, and we were leaving the next morning, or at about 1:00 in the morning, to drive to the airport to get a plane to go on our honeymoon.
Correct.
But April was speaking. And so I wanted to be in that room. I wanted to just give her a hug and show her my support. She had just done the podcast talking about pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
That was way back, right when the big status store had closed because we lost the corporate lease. And I was going to focus on the little store, and that one got hit by lightning, which
And
caused
burned.
a fire and burned. So I'm just in this kind of flailing, like, what am I going to do? Should I stay in retail? And when April came on the show to talk about how we were going to pivot
Mm-hmm.
my career, really interestingly enough, we're talking about values, and I'm about to tell an April story, and I pivoted into my values.
You did?
Set my
Yes.
career down and made a huge pivot into this whole new thing. Anyway, so I give her a hug and I say, I can't stay. If you see me duck out at the end of the speech, I got to go finish packing. I'm leaving for the airport. And she looked at me and she said, you need to stay in your chair. She said, I'm going to talk about you. And I said, what? And I texted you.
Yeah,
And I said,
yeah.
April said I'm a part of the speech.
And when April
I
says
gotta
she's gonna talk
stay,
about you,
right?
yeah.
You need to pack
That
for
means a
me
lot.
or something. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what she's about to say, but she said I need to, keep my bottom in my chair. And what she brought up in her speech about values, and this is before these were even at the forefront of my mind, she had a picture of me. You were up there, but this was the moment that my dad had just walked me down the aisle. So he's still standing where the pastor says, and who takes this woman? And he says, her mother and I. That was that moment. And she talked all about the values of how we had to move the wedding and the fact that he may or may not be there, and how I drove around for 2 weeks before the wedding with a white dress in my car because
did.
he was in the hospital. And I was not afraid. That's the wrong answer. I was concerned that we were going to have to get married at the Emory Chapel.
And we
because
even
he
looked
was
at
in
the chapel
hospital.
to see
We went down to the
logistically how we could do
chapel
it.
to see if we could get him down there in a hospital bed. I mean, we had but that was my value. I was not walking down that aisle, no matter what aisle it was going to be, without him, even if he
Yes.
was in a wheelchair. And she did a
And
whole...
stress again, he is the one who has your kidney. That's why he's still with us.
Correct. Very meaningful. The relationship between my dad and I, it was very deep. And it was very important. And unfortunately, he got sick, and then we moved the wedding, and he got sick again, and it was terrible. And we are through it, and he is home and
And he
as
did walk
healthy
you
as
down
he
the
can
aisle.
be for the medical issues that he has. But he did make it to the wedding. But I thought that was really, really important that someone from the outside, who I know, but she's a friend. I want April to be my friend. I adore her.
Yes.
But she used a moment about me and did a whole speech about it in front of about my values.
Yes.
In front
Which
of
is
a group of
amazing.
women.
And of course, as you said, it was all about moving the wedding purposely so he could be there. We absolutely wanted him to be there. Well, let's pick up on values again in a minute. I do want to talk very briefly before we go to a commercial break about one of our other sponsors. A reminder that Status Life with Leta is sponsored by 5 Strands Affordable Testing. Gain personalized insights on how your body interacts with your diet and lifestyle patterns. All they need is 5 strands of your hair, and you'll receive personalized results to help you reach your health and wellness goals. Visit 5strands.com to learn more. And if I recall, the promo code is Leta10, the
Yes.
number 10.
Yes.
So go in the promo code, or when it comes to promo code, type in Leta, Leta.
10% off.
10, the number 10, and you'll get 10% off your order.
Yes.
And it's phenomenal. Great product. I encourage everyone to go out and do 5 strands.
Tired of experiencing bloating, eczema, diarrhea, or weight problems? Get to the root cause of your dietary discomforts with 5 Strands affordable testing. No need to schedule time off work. Just collect and send in 5 strands of your hair to see how intolerant your body is responding to over 600 common food items. Intolerance reactions are not life-threatening like allergies, but are responsible for most daily discomforts. Achieve your dietary and lifestyle goals by visiting 5strands.com and ordering your at-home collection kit today.
Hello, everyone. As a listener of the Status Life with Leta podcast, you already know I'm attorney Derrick Hayes. I've been practicing law in the state of Georgia now for over 26 years. My firm specializes in cases involving personal injury, catastrophic injury, nursing home abuse, and any other situation where someone was injured by the negligence of others. As I've said before, if insurance companies ever resolve claims the way they should, I'd be out of a job. But I'm not worried about that happening. Did you know insurance adjusters are trained to pay you as little as possible to protect their company's bottom line? They say they're genuinely concerned about you, but really the goal is to settle the claim with you for far less money than you deserve. My job is to make sure they pay the full value of your claim and nothing less. You can speak directly with me by calling my office at 404-777-HURT. Visit my website at derrickmhayes.com. or check out my social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to catch my podcast, Injury Insider with Derrick Hayes, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast. I look forward to speaking with you.
Well, let's pick back up again on values. We've had a great discussion so far. So what do you want to go into next?
All right. I'm coming out of the hot seat, the vulnerable seat, and I want to dig into your values a little bit. All right.
Okay.
Before I do, I want to go through a list of words that describe many different values. For those of you listening, please pick out your words as I read this list. I would love to hear your words. If you'll DM them to me, my email address, statuslifewithleta@gmail. I love the feedback, and just send them to me. I want to hear things. But Derrick's going to talk about his on the show because he's across from me, and I love putting him in the hot seat.
Imagine that.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Before I read the list and we dig into this, I just want to say really quickly, I could do an entire second show on business principles and values. There's a ton of information out there on leadership, shaping your company, determining your business values. You know, that's what truly makes a successful business. The businesses that set their values and teach their employees, those are the ones that truly go the distance. And there's a lot of stats. Again, there's so much that I could dig into. Today, I'm focused on personal values, but they're also extremely intertwined. So if you want to use this list and think through your company's values, you do it that way. Or if you, not you, Derrick, but everyone listening,
Yes.
You do your personal. So
I was going to say, I try and have significant value system in place in my firm.
You do. And I was going to say, but
it's-
I'm looking at you thinking they are so closely matched. I mean, your personal values are your firm's value because your firm is you.
Right. It translates into that.
100%. All right, here we go. This is a list of core values to guide your life. Remember, jot them. If you're driving, just try to remember the big keywords that jump out at you. Okay? All right, here we go. These are in alphabetical order.
Okay.
Authenticity, achievement, adventure, authority, balance, beauty, boldness, compassion, challenge, community, competency, contribution, creativity, curiosity, determination, fairness, faith, fame, friendships, fun, growth, happiness, honesty, humor, influence, inner harmony, justice, kindness, knowledge, leadership, learning, love, loyalty, meaningful work, openness, optimism, peace, pleasure, poise, popularity, recognition, religion, reputation, respect, responsibility, security, self-respect, service, spirituality, stability, success, status, trustworthiness, wealth, and wisdom. I hope
That's
you
a good
got yours.
list.
Yeah.
That's a very good list.
Did you get yours? Because I'm not going to reread that.
Yes, I did, because
Okay.
I always do what I'm told to do.
Yes,
And so-
yes,
I
yes.
did.
All right, Derrick. Give me your top words that you associate as your values.
Well, it's tough to pick 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 10 because I feel like I try and incorporate many of these. But if I had to pick a top one, it's faith. I think faith drives pretty much everything in my life on some level. At least I try and rely on my faith from decision making to things I do on a daily basis, how I present myself. And I guess along with faith, you could throw in the word religion and spirituality, which are also part of the list. Family, which there are many words you could use that would incorporate family as part of the value system. As an attorney, justice is one of those because you try and seek justice. Of course, I do personal injury work, so it's more about my client being compensated than justice in the sense of guilt or innocence that you think about in that setting. Kindness, knowledge, I'm all about learning. I always want to learn something. Wisdom can also be used along with knowledge.
Okay, you're not supposed to pick apart the whole list.
Well, I'm just saying those that are most important. That's what I said. It's tough because there are a lot of values.
Sure.
And I would even
and
say
I
love.
love that you have a lot. I love that you said I could go over 10.
Sure.
But if you were given a quiz and somebody, I don't know, there's all those personality tests, and that's not what we're doing. We've done the Enneagram. We did a whole series. If you need a personality test, everybody go back and listen to that series. So you said faith.
Faith, family, love. We'll go with 3.
Okay. What would 4 and 5? Because I know you said justice.
Yeah, wisdom, knowledge.
Okay.
I think those two are
that really
interchangeable terms. And then also, I guess knowledge is the things you learn, and applying that knowledge is the wisdom that you present. And also friendships. I enjoy cultivating friendships, and those people that are in my inner circle, that those are the folks that mean the world to me in many ways. The old adage is I give the shirt off my back, and I would any way I could help anyone that's in that inner circle.
Yes. I think you feel like that. I wouldn't put that as your top 10. Did I just get really Southern?
You're Southern there.
I know that you love and care about and respect friendships. But to me, maybe I feel like this is kind of a guy thing. I don't think you take as much time watering those friendships as I do. Like for me, that would be top 5.
It's a different thing, right? Guys,
it's different.
Right. You just showed me a comedian the other night that did a whole spill about, there's a ladies' night, and suddenly everybody comes out of the woodwork to go out, and the guys look around and go, what ladies' night?
It was
what is
a hilarious meme.
And
yes.
guys don't say, hey, it's a guys' night. Let's all get together.
Right.
Or a guys' weekend. But ladies will do anything they can to have those ladies' weekends, those ladies' trips,
Yes.
those ladies' nights.
A lunch, anything. You
Yeah.
put something out there and you're right, we all jump on board. And I do think that could be a little bit of a difference. And it doesn't mean that friendship is not in your top
It
10.
manifests
I'm
itself
just saying
a different way.
It looks different for you
Sure.
than it does me. I've probably been on 6 group chats just this morning with different plans, and we're doing this and we're doing
Again,
that, and we're planning a shower and we're planning a run at this time, and that's me.
And we pulled in the parking lot, and apparently we have plans for Thanksgiving now.
I know, right? Potluck
text.
Thanksgiving. So, and that's wonderful. So maybe that's the role as your wife. Like I cultivate our friendships in our
My
community.
entertainment director.
Yeah, that works too. So anyway, but that's our value,
Yeah.
and
So
as a couple,
what word would you throw out there for me? Is there one that stands out there? I'll put you back in the hot seat. Is there a word that, aside from the ones I've already given, is there one that jumps off the page at you?
About you?
Yeah, that you think would be a value that you see in me. We'll kind of put it that way.
Oh,
Aside from the ones I've already mentioned.
There's so many.
So you feel my pain. It's
I
tough
think I'm just going from the top. I absolutely see compassion. I think just the way that you are with your clients, the way that you are, because I get to see you at work. I get to see you with your staff, but especially the people that you're fighting for them. I mean, these are people that have been through horrible accidents, that are injured or their loved one is injured. Sometimes it's a child and you're handling the parents, and it's all emotion, and you just handle that with such grace and such compassion. I really, really respect it. You have a lot of self-respect for yourself. That's a big one. There's so many, like you said, it's
tough.
It's so, the wisdom. I mean, even in your downtime, you're always learning something or reading, or there's just so much knowledge. The news is on at your desk, and it's not that you sit there and watch it. You're just absorbing that knowledge all the time. I don't know. There's just something about you. And you are very, very authentic, which is definitely one of the things I love. So I think you have a really, really strong core value system. I'd like to think that maybe is what makes us work so well as a
we
couple.
jive very well for
so
that
I'm
reason.
doing a whole show saying that my values are running my life, and I'm struggling with the balance of where does my career fit in? Because my kids are at a stage right now where they're tweens, and my son is 14 and an immature 14. So he sits at 12 to 13 on the maturity. And my daughter is 12 and she's all of 18. I mean,
Yes,
she's far,
she is.
and they're challenging. This
Yes.
tween, the hormones, like they're so much right now, so much. And I keep thinking to myself a lot, this thought has passed my mind 100 times. What if I still had that huge career? What if I had that 2-page bio of not things that I had accomplished, but of projects I was currently working on and things I was doing? Where would these 2 teenagers that need me so much, from this doctor's appointment to this vitamin they need to take to this sport they need to be at to this friend group, like it is a 10 right now with both of them. It's wonderful, and I'm glad that I'm so focused on them, but I'm afraid to really jump into anything else because of the fear of burnout.
Right.
And not about my kids, of the career. I want to make that really clear. I'm not afraid of being burned out on my kids.
Well, the value list you gave, I could do the same thing, the same exercise with you, and try and narrow it down to 5 or 10. And it's tough because I see, as you said, so many of those in you as well. So with all that being said, let's kind of wrap this value part
Yes.
up.
Okay.
So sum up as best you can the principles that you want the listeners to take away in this value system, the value podcast, the application of values in life, in family and work, all those aspects of the everyday living.
Well, I think we go back all the way back to the beginning and we talk about the definition of it. These are the measures you use to tell if your life is turning out the way you want it to. All right, what is my branded hashtag? Derrick, you better know it, okay? He's got a red face.
I'm laughing because the way you looked at me. Your branded hashtag is design your life.
Okay,
I'm laughing.
so go back to that. It's funny, I caught him off guard. Go back to that statement. The measures that you use to tell if your life is turning out the way you want to. All right, how am I going to tie all this together? I'm going to use that to say, I didn't even understand when I came up with that. It's thinking about what is Status Life with Leta going to be? It's going to be a platform that I use my voice to add value. How am I going to do that? I am, by degree, by trade, by career, I'm an interior designer. But yet, doing this podcast and writing a blog gives me a whole different voice. It gives me a voice to say, use me, use my mistakes, use my challenges, use my kids, use my divorce, use my marriage, use my kidney donation, use everything I've got that I'll put out here and design your life accordingly. If you learn something from me, it's something I'm teaching. Or if it's something that I give as a parenting tip. If I'm sitting here talking about values and I give you the whole list, write out your values for yourself or for your business, whatever needs work or needs focus. I've completely changed mine. And I'm really happy about that. I don't ever mean to come across like, oh, I'm fearful and I'm busy. I'm fearful that I'm going to let my career get bigger than my values, because I think there was a point that it did. And if I was in it, I would have told you, but I'm helping people, but I'm helping my community. But this is why I have status. Every single person that walks in that door, I'm able to help. And I loved it. And that was my mission. But that mission came to a close. And now there's a whole nother mission.
Yes.
And I hope that everyone listening will take all of this as one big package, but start from your values and let me know what they are. I want to hear about it.
Well, another great show as always. But I do want to talk very briefly about our next show. We got a really good
yes,
guest
this is
coming
really
back
important,
in.
and this is going to take some listener feedback. So I believe it was at the top of season 4. We have Austin. Austin is the CEO. Is he the CEO?
CFO.
One of the C's. He's one of the head, one of the owners of 5 Strands, who's the sponsor of this show. And Austin came on and he had some wonderful insight about health, nutrition. He talked about the best way to eat is flash frozen food and that you need to eat 5 oranges nowadays because of our soil to
get
what
the same
it used to
nutrients,
be, right, where you could eat 1 orange back in the day in the 70s and 80s. I mean, the knowledge was just absolutely amazing that he's got all that nutrition. We're going to come and we're going to do a deeper dive. But if you're listening and you have any questions on 5 Strands, on food intolerance, on nutrition, send me your questions. And if you have any questions for me, this is going to be a Q&A. Derrick's going to ask everything that gets submitted, and Austin's going to take all the health, nutrition. Austin's got a big story about his life that we're going to jump into. And so it's going to be really interesting. So it's going to be a Q&A kind of covering all of mind, body, soul, right? We're going to do a deep dive.
And this kind of came to fruition because after he was on the last podcast, when the podcast was done, we sat and chatted for probably another 15 or 20 minutes.
I wish that could have been on air.
So
we're going to go back and we're going to put some of this on air. But I do want to say one thing about my sponsor, about 5 Strands. I have a really good friend, and I was with her this week, and we were taking our walk because I cultivate all my friendships constantly.
Yes.
And she was very upset. Her son is struggling. He had eczema and had broke out and rash and painful sores and horrible eczema all over his body. And I had told her about 5 Strands. She went to 5 Strands. She bought an intolerance test for her son, sent it in, came back. I know our reports were about 17 pages long.
Very
she said
detailed.
his was lit up in red. Almost every single thing on his food intolerance at that time was red. And it's not a coincidence it was red because he was broke out in such an intolerance. His system was just on overload right now. So she took a lot of the food. She realized dairy was one of the highest intolerances that he had. She started pulling dairy. Some of the oats were really red, and she's completely changed his diet, and the eczema is calming down. The sores are going away. He's feeling much better, all from her 5 Strands test that she did.
Great.
That's huge. So I don't mean she was upset in the moment. She was upset and went to 5 Strands for relief
And found
for
some
her
solutions.
son. So I think that's these testimonials. I wouldn't just have any sponsor on the show. I believe in their product. I've used their product. It's life-changing. And that's what, again, what's my branded hashtag?
Design your life.
Thank you. And I think
feel like I'm on a quiz show.
No, I'm kidding. I think that 5 Strands is right in line with that. So I really, really appreciate them. And I just think it's important to share how it's affecting my people.
Yes. Well, thank you again very much for joining us on Status Life with Leta, presented by Business Radio X. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and Leta's Instagram, Status Life with Leta, so you don't miss any upcoming shows. This program and all the other shows are available in your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, for Leta Brooks Hayes, I'm Derrick Hayes, and you are listening to Status Life with Leta on Business Radio X.